going to be a fun episode, and hopefully you enjoyed last week's too. And if you
Absolutely.
didn't, check it out on our YouTube channel.
Don't. All right, we'll be back with you in less than a minute. Good morning, Philadelphia listeners on WWDB 860 and everyone else via the live stream. This is Kevin O'Brien. I'm with Wayne Middleton. It must be Monday morning because this is the SMB Acceleration Show. Before we get into today's show, remember, if you miss anything this morning on the radio broadcast or live stream, you can catch the podcast anywhere podcasts are found or on our website, smbacceleration.com. We have a great show ahead today. We're going to be building on last week's show and get small business owners ready to accelerate their business growth in 2020. Today's show is going to be a focus on content marketing, specifically blogging. In my opinion, blogging is still highly effective and not enough businesses are utilizing this timeless strategy. But before we get into it, it's time to check in with Wayne and see how the trip down from Allentown was.
Good morning, everyone. It's nice to be back on. It's Monday morning, and it lives up to its usual expectations on the Scoop Call. So, for all of you stuck in that traffic, I feel for you. Just imagine I was stuck in that traffic from about Lansdale to City Ave. So, good fun. Luckily, I was chilled out with some music in the background, so everything was good. And then just kind of on the quiet, listening to myself talk over today's notes.
Excellent. Here's a question. Did it seem like a full moon out there?
It absolutely is. I woke up this morning howling and slightly more hairier than I went to bed. And it's been an interesting start to the day.
Oh, that's excellent. But I just want to give a quick reminder, small business owners. While our radio show covers the Philadelphia Metro, Wayne is out of the Allentown area and available anytime to meet with small business owners throughout the Lehigh Valley. So, should we get into the small business news, Wayne? What are you thinking?
I don't know. Let's do it. Let's go for it.
So, you came up with a number of great things I think we came across this week. One was that MarTech one. That really jumped out to me. The research that they had from early December, finding that 84% of customers are looking for holiday discounts. And while that's focused around the holidays, I think that's something that really applies to the entire year.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, if you're running like a small e-commerce and you're pushing out your coupons or your promo codes, I mean, 84% of your customers are looking for those in their inboxes. So this is great marketing opportunity. It's a great strategy. And yes, this one is purely focused on the holiday season, but throughout the year, I think if you have a good offer and you've got some products that have desirability, you're gonna succeed by promoting it through email and driving trying to drive people to sign up and subscribe to your email list. It's really important in order to keep growing and building on seasonal success and trying to carry that seasonality throughout the year.
Absolutely.
We've talked a lot about e-marketing. It's something near and dear to both of our hearts. It's something that we do for our businesses throughout the year, and it's an old school technique, but it's still working really, really well. I would even go so far as to say, and I'm going to try to do some research and find this data, but the other mechanism now is through your Facebook chat or your instant messenger and sending out coupons and promotions through that, but also through SMS. I mean, it's a great opportunity if you've got those mobile numbers in your system. It's a really good way to get people to, again, take action and maybe buy a product they're not used to looking for.
No, that's excellent. I actually had a pretty good recent experience with that and purchasing sunglasses. Yeah. And company is called Shady Rays, and it's a direct-to-consumer sunglass company. They actually also do ski goggles and all. Part of it is very socially conscious company. Each purchase goes and provides meals for the homeless. So there's a lot of good tie-ins with that. But what I really liked was, one, their email back and forth is great. Mm-hmm. But as I was looking, right after I signed up, you know, I was like, yeah, sure, I want to keep in touch. I was kind of on the fence of, I didn't know anybody that had these sunglasses. Are they worthwhile to buy? And they actually have a really great kind of, their hook to it is, you know, sunglasses are expensive. They don't need to be, but you can get X number of pairs if you lose or break them.
Oh, okay.
So
That's
for
really
me,
cool.
someone who constantly is losing things, that is excellent. And I really, you know, kind of was like, oh, well, that's really what I'm looking for. But then they started sending me emails about, you know, hey, take a look at the rest of our products, but also here's a 20% off code. We want you to be a first-time purchaser.
Oh, cool.
And
That's
that
really good.
sold the deal.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of other channels that have done something similar.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the old BOGOs don't fail either. But I think, yeah, be smart with your marketing. I think that's what it tells you, and be personable.
Absolutely.
So, you know, those added services that, you know, free return if they break or if you're not happy with it, these are all great little additions to your already established marketing strategy, and it differentiates you. And I think this is the key. It differentiates yourself from your competitors.
Absolutely.
And at some point today, I am going to get my teeth fixed so I can actually speak.
Oh, no, but you know, it really is. And differentiators are key. I think too often people don't realize that. And, you know, having done some work with some really good CRO, you know, conversion rate optimization folks, one thing that always stuck out, especially for the smaller Shopify stores, is offering the, you know, kind of putting up that banner that says 100% satisfaction guaranteed, or here's our policy, you know,
Yep.
especially for the newer, smaller ones, because a lot of time people are hesitant. I think even especially with the amount of fake goods that are on Amazon.
Yeah, there's a lot of fake goods, and you know, we all, whether you love or hate it, Alibaba is out there, and it's, you know, it's putting out a lot of good products, but also some not good products, and differentiating yourself, even down to, and I never, you know, being from the UK, we don't take pride in many things. So having the Made in America stamp is also a really big thing. And I struggled when I first came over and working in the industry to really understand why that mattered. Since I've been here for 11 years, I get it.
Yeah.
Totally understand it. And I think that is a huge flag to raise if it's part of your business model.
Absolutely.
Even down to promoting, if you're veteran-based business,
Yes.
having that kind of stamp on there as well, it helps to add validity to your products and your services, and it also just helps elevate you and differentiate you from others.
Absolutely. And then, you know, that kind of ties right into the an interesting one of the other articles I thought that was really interesting was the, you know, Forbes one about why podcast should be your top marketing priority next year.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Like, podcasts are taking off left, right, and center. Everyone's kind of been doing them. Everyone listens to them. So, you know, it kind of makes sense to start thinking about how you can leverage podcasts in your marketing strategy. Again, it's all about content, honestly, and accessing people in ways that they want to hear or consume that content. So whether that's through your blog, whether it's through video, and we had that great guest last week, Wendy Salzman, talking about video. Apply that to your podcast. Like, it's the same idea, it's the same thing. It's a matter of getting your brand out there, getting your tone out there, your voice, and really pulling people in every possible channel. And when we talk about marketing strategies and you think about it logistically, Kevin and I both talk about surround sound. You know, if you've got your destination, which could be your store or your website or your e-commerce site, whatever you've got, every piece of activity that you have around or outside of that is all about driving people to your single destination. So you have to have that broad coverage from your social media, your podcasting, your vlogging, you know, whether you've got influencers on YouTube, like leveraging those, everything driving back to that one singular destination. It's all about content, and it's all about consistency.
It is, and then content and consistency, the two C's. That seem to be, you know, it's a great way to kind of break it down into a simple way to look at it. And it's really being consistent and consistent in creating content.
Yep.
You know, is kind of the gold standard for taking your business to the next level.
Yeah, and setting up a podcast can seem very daunting if you think about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, wow, I'm going to be broadcasting, I'm going to be recording. But it doesn't have to be that difficult. I'm just sitting here looking at our rather impressively sized microphone in front of us that we use for our restreaming. Now, something like that, like what we have here, it's a pretty good USB based microphone. It's got great amount of pickup, so both Kevin and I can talk through it fairly easily. How much did something like that set you back?
I think it's actually cheaper than you would think. It was, I'll give a free plug, I guess, for Amazon on their Genius Prime Day. I think it was the first Prime Day, so it's a couple years old. But I mean, it's a Blue Yeti, and it's kind of, I guess, the de facto just above, just under professional, just above kind of using your website or like your standard microphone. And it was right around $90-$100. I think they're still around $100.
Yeah, so for about $100 or less, you can use your microphone to start talking and start recording your podcast. Basically just setting up the show correctly, making sure that you have a good intro, a good outro, and then the content to fill it up. It's worth doing. It's worth investigating.
Absolutely. As our man Dan behind the glass just said, it's 105 right now. So
there you go. So
inflation hasn't picked up too much in the last couple of years, and I kind of bought it too. I was dying to start a podcast actually when I bought it.
Yeah, there you go. And both Kevin and I like to speak, as you know. So I would accelerate it, or I would push it a little step further. And we when we started the radio show, we didn't think necessarily about live streaming. And within about a week, we was like, we got to do live stream, got to do this. And in planning the shows as we do take account on our live stream viewers and listeners. And so we bought a decent camera, a decent little. Fundamentally, an iCam type idea.
Yeah, it's a Logitech. I think it's kind of. Then again, it's just a couple steps above using your base webcam. It's a
little bit more of an advanced webcam, but something as simple as that. Like for less, I would say probably about $200, you can set up a nice camera, a decent microphone, and start not only doing your podcast but also doing. I hate acronyms, but vodcast. You can start videoing yourself doing these discussions. So if you've got let's say you're an agency and you're trying to put some thought leadership out there, why not have an interview with your customer live on air? Why not have one of your designers talk about a piece and showcase your work? There's a lot of ways you can do this, whether you're a small design agency, something bespoke, to an e-commerce site where you actually do live kind of product reviews.
Absolutely.
Which people will watch, and you can push them out. And if you're using Restream, you can use all your your social media channels to launch the content through. And if you are going to do a live stream, I would highly recommend looking at Ecamm, which is a great baseline software that we use ourselves, and you leveraging the Restream.io channel. It works really well, and it gets you a great exposure.
The only thing I would add to it is, and as far as the audio side, I would look at Anchor.fm for the syndicating of the podcast to all the popular podcast platforms.
Yeah. So all of those, take those away with you and start thinking about, okay, what can I do in 2020 to set up a vlog or podcast in addition to some other content that we're going to be talking about later, which is blogging.
It's funny, this whole conversation has me thinking. I was at my son's soccer game, talking to some of the parents, and one of us were talking about somehow Joe Rogan came up. And I was like, wow, that he's kind of the gold standard of podcasters. I mean, according to some research, he made, $50 million last year?
Yeah.
I don't think as a small business owner you can expect to make $50 million off podcasting. But I think that just goes to show you the power of the medium.
Yeah, it can. Again, if you can get sponsorship and you can start putting your content out there and start running through some advertising as well, all of a sudden it can start being that second income.
Yeah.
Or even in that situation, a first income.
Could you imagine?
I know, it'd be great, wouldn't it?
But you know what? That kind of leads to the other great article you came across, that Adweek one, where, we kind of touched most of it, but really it's your brand is only as strong as your content is the headline.
Yeah.
And that's so true.
It is. If you can have a great brand, you can be out there, people can know who you are, but really what makes you stand out from everyone else is going to be the quality of your content and making sure that what you're talking about is relevant to your audience, and thought leader in that space. Brand or building your brand out through content is really the way to do marketing these days.
Absolutely.
It's the way all the search engines are starting to gear towards, making sure that your content's relevant to the people that are searching and the terms that they're using. So content is and will be, for at least the foreseeable future, king.
It is. That is so true. And then, that other entrepreneur article, that was really good. The how to turn your brand's Facebook into a marketing gold mine. And, as I always catch you, I mean, if we don't need to hear crickets, but as I always say, the power of Facebook is still not to be underestimated.
No, it isn't. And, to be honest, what kind of triggered me on this was basically that conversation we had where, in case any of our listeners didn't realize, I went dead silent when Kevin claimed Facebook being the number one. Well, I'll eat humble pie where humble pie is needed. Thank you, Dan. I'll eat humble pie where I need to. He's absolutely right. It can be a complete difference maker in your marketing. I mean, let's not forget, there's 2.4 billion monthly users, active users in the community. So, that's a great audience to capture. You can really start to think about that if you're doing it for your organic. There's some new challenges. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say your organic is going to be the way forward. It's not. Just hands down, it won't be. You're going to have to pay for it. Facebook have been good at keeping things available to people for very little money for a number of years, but now it's time to monetize, which makes sense.
Marketing is money. Yeah,
and so if you're willing to put a little bit of extra cash in there, the benefits that your business can, or the rewards that your business can reap, are significant. All these articles that we read out in the news are going to be posted up on our blog on SMBAcceleration.com. You can read into them a little in much more detail. You can also, we're open to having emails sent to us asking us questions or our opinions on things. It's worth looking out. The one thing I want to call out is what this article talks to, and I think this is kind of where it kind of gets interesting, is Facebook is starting to offer you a certification bundle. Mm-hmm. So the one article that I did read that I didn't put in the show this week was about the idea of, don't be afraid to try to do things yourself. You don't always need experts.
Absolutely.
You don't always need experts. I think if you've tried something and it's not working, or you need some guidance additional, like getting consulting services makes sense. But, Facebook are offering a marketing certification bundle. Mm-hmm. We're probably going to feature this in a show a little bit later. It's very cost effective. It's not expensive. And I think who better to tell you how to use their channel than the people who built it. And it will give you some great tips and inside information on how to get started. From there, don't be afraid to experiment. Try some different things. And, take control of your own marketing.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're getting started and you don't have the budget you have too much time and not enough things to fill it. Getting that Facebook Blueprint certification, Google Analytics, even better understanding that, or the Google AdWords certification. All of that, even just if you have the time initially, can be invaluable. If you don't, you're already an established business, then it's absolutely smart to go out and hire people like ourselves who really, can help you accelerate your business. Yeah. And it kind of leads me to something I came across in the news, which talk about accelerating your business. It sounds like Barstool Sports is being purchased by a local company.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And here's the kicker. I think it's a subsidiary of one of the casinos. So how smart is that?
That is very smart. Talk about cornering your market.
Yeah. So So if you're going after gamblers, and I have to say I've been getting a number of ads over the last probably since football season. Yeah. Maybe it honed in that I'm a big football fan.
Yeah, I don't get those.
But it's really interesting. What about international football? No Premier League ads to.
Oh no, there's been plenty of those. Trust me, plenty of Premier League gambling is available. Again, this has been something I've grown up with in the UK. bet on sports all the time. There has been a significant rise in the ads, the sports bets. I think it's sports bets, where they're in the bowling alley and the guy's sitting there with his pig. Great little play on it. It's kind of a funny ad as well. But yeah, there's been a significant increase in it. Interestingly enough, what I have found, which is, this is probably one of the lesser known things about digital TV. I obviously watch my Premier League on it fairly regularly. So I tend to get more Premier League based style ads or more soccer based style ads. So in some of mine, I'm actually getting positioned for some of the soccer betting as opposed to the NFL betting.
Okay.
So even now, and this has been going on for a number of years now, but not a lot of people understand it. But through digital TV, they're actually using all the technology that we use online about choosing the right audience, getting the audience in front of people through your retargeting and everything else. They're actually doing it on TV now too.
Genius. And I mean, I think Barstool is a great example for obviously it's a media company.
Yes.
But all they do is put out content.
Yeah.
All the time, and it was
content machine.
Yes, and it was different. Like they're always doing live stream, podcast, or something different. From their pizza review to a bunch of them drinking, watching sports, and gambling on it. They kind of touched on everything about sports, and like what makes people love it is that like social aspect, and they've done a great job of kind of bringing that up. And from what it sounds like, they're going to get over 100 million, so it's a pretty well done job by folks at Barstool.
Yeah, and as you say, the most important thing is a local Philadelphia-based or
Philadelphia-based company buying it. Conshohocken, actually.
Yeah, so really good, exciting. Keep an eye on that. I think the one thing I hope to see is it doesn't diminish the brand.
Absolutely. And
typically, in these big takeovers, the brand can be the last thing people worry about. It should be one of the main things.
I'm sure Presidente and all the guys who are going to cash out on 100 million are probably not as worried about that. But
I'm sure.
Great point. And the last thing I have before we kind of jump to a break and then get into blogging for a while is Natural Light, the beer company.
Mm-hmm.
is offering free beer for anyone turning 21 this year.
That is awesome. Talk about get them while they're young.
That was my first thought too.
I couldn't get past free beer initially. Yeah, I mean it had me at free beer. Then I went on to read and I was like, dang, I'm not able to do that. But I mean, it's a fantastic little promotion. Do we encourage drinking? Yeah, but there's worse things. And being beer drinkers ourselves would be a little two-faced. So it's worth. It's a clever little ad. It's really well done. And yeah, if you're 21 this year, grab your free case of Natural Light.
Yeah, I mean, and they had built a website for it, which I really liked. mybeerrebate.com. That's genius. It's a great chance to kind of go out and build another domain and. Some additional kind of, not that they need domain authority or anything like that, but it's just something that stays in people's mind, about, hey, I could get some free beer. And being someone who lives around, I think it's 8 colleges within like a 5-mile radius, I will tell you from what it looks like, Natural Light is very popular with the folks who are 21, 22, 23.
Yeah. Unsurprisingly, the price point is on point.
Yeah. Oh, it's for sure. But you know what? Hey, good for them for realizing that that's their market. If they can grab an extra couple, percentage points of 21-year-olds, maybe it's a 4 or 5 year, kind of time period they have on them. But think about what that means for the amount of beer the average 21-year-old to 25-year-old drinks.
Yeah, it's marketing.
It's marketing. I like that.
It's using your nonce and making sure that you're being smart in the efforts that you're doing. Absolutely. So applause for those.
Applause, Natural Light.
Folks. There was a couple of other interesting things you pulled up, right?
Yeah, just a couple of good examples of small local ads. There was a local tax service the Shirt tax service that kind of follows around does the Lehigh Valley to Philadelphia, which I thought was interesting. The video was pretty good. They did a great job of, I'm guessing they reused the Facebook post because it has a lot of engagement. So the social factor of that was really good. I saw some good examples of fitness companies, as we talked about a couple weeks ago. My New Year's resolution has me constantly being targeted by fitness companies. And
have you signed up yet, though?
I have not. Trying to keep that resolution good.
Good. My New Year's resolution this year was not to make any, and I'm doing great.
You can't beat that. But, you know, I haven't. And I'll tell you, though, before we get to the break, the one thing I will say to all those running fitness ads is they run the gamut. There's a one I saw that was for sports, like a weight bench that came out and squat rack and all. And they had a really good job. It was, I think, PRX Performance. And they had this really good, their social media team was just excellent in responding to people, being a little snarky with it, like, because people are wise, as we talked about before. A lot of times you'll get crazy comments. Now, I have to say, one of the other ones I wasn't familiar with went with the two, like, hyper attractive females working out, and the comments were not what you would want if you were the team running the social media ads. And I honestly, that was my first thought when I saw the ad was, wow, that's a little too over the top, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. You got to be very selective with your images if you're going to put it through social media, because you do open yourself up to some comments that you wouldn't want. And as we have seen with other brands that we have talked about on this show, it can backfire very badly. So,
absolutely.
You know, again, it's a case of using your experience and saying, or just stopping for a second and saying, is that the right picture we want to portray? If it is, have at it, but be prepared to respond and remove some of those comments that you're going to get, because they can be, again, social media is fairly anonymous for the most part. I mean, you don't even know if these people are the people you really are targeting, and so it opens them up to really express how they feel, and sometimes how they feel is not necessarily good
what
for
you want.
So
no.
You have to be careful.
No, that's great, and I think that's going to actually come up later in the show, is the power of images, especially when it comes to blogging.
Yep.
You know what? Well, we're going to take a quick break, but before we do, remember, if you missed anything this morning on the radio broadcast or live stream, you can catch the podcast on our website or anywhere podcasts are found, SMBAcceleration.com. When we come back, we're going to jump right into blogging and get your small business marketing accelerated.
Sound effect, man. Love it.
Oh, I was crying. Hello, live stream. If you have any questions, let us know.
Yep, we've got it up. Got the messenger up. You can fire away some messages over to us, ask questions, especially around the blogging content. Let's do it. Let's get this done. Hopefully you're enjoying today's show as well. We're bringing in, it's definitely a full moon. Kevin and I have come in fully armed with whether it's dad humor or not, it's still there. You know, feel free to ridicule us on our humor too. I'm happy to take it. I can give it and take it, so it's all good.
Oh, no, I'm with you.
The one thing you guys might be missing out on the live stream is Dan's excellent sound effects, which have been really funny and timely this morning. We're not used to that. The crickets call me unawares, I must admit.
Oh, yes. I actually think of that every time.
Alrighty.
All right. Nice. All right, we're back, and we're going to be talking small business blogging. But before we get into accelerating your small business via blogging, let me tell you about my favorite option for booking a vacation in North Wildwood, Shore Points Realty. Shore Points Realty is an excellent option if you're looking to book that summer vacation or spring or fall. And if you're a homeowner, looking to accelerate, your rentals, I would definitely give them a call. Their team is extremely digital savvy. Their owner and broker, Ian Lazarus, has been on the show before. You know what? And take their knowledge, and you can really extend the marketing of your home. Give them a call at 609-522-2286 and ask for Ian, located right on New Jersey Ave in Wildwood. But now, let's get into one of my favorite foundations of content marketing, and that's blogging.
Oh, blogging. It is one of those things that I'm not naturally a writer. I'm more your visual creative guy. So whenever I'm asked to write my opinions on things, it's always a challenge and can be very daunting. So not only was this interesting to research, but it's also interesting to come at it from two very different angles. Kevin has blogged and blogged frequently for quite a while, whereas I'm a little bit more of I'll drop in when I feel like it every now and again with something, but most of the time I'm the sort of person that would reshare content that I find interesting or inspiring from others, and you're going to have two very different opinions on and views on how to blog it, and none of them are wrong. And I would say take what you can from what we're going to discuss today.
No, I think that's absolutely true, and kind of as Wayne alluded to, I've been blogging probably since about 2008. 2007.
Yes, that's a fair amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, if I probably got into the number over time, it's probably in the thousands. But before I get to that, I don't want people to think that I've written 1,000 word articles. A number of times they're really short, and sometimes they might be one paragraph with an image.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I always like to do is video.
Okay.
So I'll write a quick paragraph setting up what the video is going to be about, but I've just learned I'm a better talker than I am writer. So for the most part, if I'm going to be blogging or vlogging, it's going to be via video, and that way I feel more comfortable. I can edit that video as I'm going along, and again, my approach to it is just a little different than yours.
Yeah, and I think Wendy, our guest last week, had this very similar approach. She does an amazing job. If you have not seen, you should definitely check her out on LinkedIn. The blog tips she does daily are amazing.
They are really good and very helpful. And, again, like she said last week, video is going to be everything. So a blog doesn't have to be just written word. It can be a video. It can even be an audio clip if you can do that too. So
absolutely,
if you think about what, we talked about podcasts earlier on. Podcast is fundamentally a way to blog.
Absolutely.
At the core of it, it's just a different medium to put that
correct.
story
I mean, it's
across.
all content marketing, right? It's all about creating this content, getting it out there, and then kind of using it as the net to bring yourself in, more business.
Yeah, and the other one, again, this is it depends on what kind of business you're into. For me, as a creative person, I like the visual blogs. So I could do a blog that is purely inspirational design pieces that I've seen throughout the week. It's something easy to collate. It's easy for me to do because I'm always looking at different design aspects of whether it's a decent logo that I'm looking at or whether it's something that just triggers a little creative juice to get flowing. I will actually start to push out visual blogs in that way, just like literally picture storyboards.
Absolutely.
I really like those. I find them helpful. It's a great way for me to work out my creative ideas. But again, being someone who doesn't feel that he can write as well as he can speak, it helps me still get content out there that's relevant with the minimal amount of writing.
The minimal amount of friction to get it out there.
Exactly.
That's a great point. I think though that it kind of brings up, you need the ability in your website to blog. So if you have that static HTML site and you don't code in HTML, or even if you do, it's a lot of work.
It is. Why have you got a static HTML site when there are many options out there available to you that can enable you to change and update content very easily? If you have got static HTML, it's not the end of the world, but it does make it more difficult to maintain and update. Part of the blog is frequency and making sure that you're consistent in the frequency that you're posting. So if you're blogging once a week and you're trying to do that through HTML, it's probably manageable.
Mm-hmm.
But let's, in our strategy, I would say, minimally you want to be blogging maybe 2 times a week, maybe 3, if you can.
If you can, absolutely.
Now that becomes a very different challenge on a static HTML based website. But the moment you start looking at different options and you start taking into account your Wix or your there's a new one called Duda, Squarespace, and you've got WordPress, all of a sudden it opens up a whole new world and you can move very fast. And blog posts become less of an arduous effort and more of an easier kind of, I've got 10 minutes, I'll just quickly put together a blog. I mean, I've done it on my phone, which
Absolutely.
is insane, really.
You can stop and think about it, yes.
Yeah, if you think about it, I've been sitting there typing away, and I did a full blog article, and before I realised I reached like 800 words.
On your phone. That's
on my
excellent.
phone. And for someone who does not, I seriously do not write very well. It was well written. I got surprising amount of content out of it, and it was easy. I was literally doing it in a car journey.
Excellent. You can't beat that.
No,
especially if it makes you feel that you're being, an efficient use of your travel time.
Yeah, I mean, you don't stop thinking, so why not share those thoughts as you're going along? And so yeah, I mean, it's really important to figure out or to have the right tools in order for you to start your blog effectively. The next really important aspect of blogging is really topics and how to find them.
Yes, because as you went to earlier, it's about content consistently.
Yeah.
Or consistent content, depending on which way you feel like saying it, really.
Or consistency, content, consistency.
Yes. Yes.
Anyway, we're digressing. So, things that you need, like just high level, what can I start talking about? Well, showing that authenticity and thought leadership in your industry, first and foremost. That's an easy one to really do. And that can start by, as we are with our news articles on our own site, is
Absolutely.
Find a few articles, write our own opinion and share the link with others and let them have at it and read that additional content. It could be as simple as that. It can also just be thoughts of the day or thoughts of the week and writing a little snippet about an industry event or something that you have something you've witnessed in your day-to-day that kind of differentiates you from someone else. That's one way you can talk about it.
Absolutely. The thing is, when you stop and think about it, I think even it doesn't really even matter if you're a B2B, an enterprise, or a local business of any sort. There's probably thousands of blog topics out there.
Yep.
It's just about embracing the consistency of doing it all the time.
Yeah, and getting used to doing it all the time.
Yes.
I mean, that's really the challenge. I mean, there are definitely words of caution around what you blog and making sure that it's on point and relevant. If you're going to blog about your business and your staff, make sure that A, your staff are okay with that, and B, make sure that it's done in a way that speaks to or elevates your brand. So, if someone on your team is a great performer and closing deals left, right, and center, yeah, you want to give them credit, but you don't necessarily want to promote that, hey, they can close as many deals as they want. You don't necessarily want to do it that way. You want to say this is, he's that individual is good, he or she is very good at building relationships with our customers. People like her or him, and get a little testimonial in from a customer as to why. That's a great way of being able to give someone kudos for doing a great job and gives them a nice insight into how your staff members interact with your customers. And I think that could be a really nice kind of way to think about how you do stuff around your staff or your business. You always want to make sure that top of mind in any blog article that you're going to write about your business or staff is, how does this reflect on my personal brand?
Absolutely. I think, keeping the brand kind of top of mind is key. And you know what, let's just throw out some, if you're a local business, no matter really what it is, you know what, first of all, start with the community news and local things.
Yeah.
That are huge. There's always stuff going on in your community.
Yeah, it's actually something that I'm going to pick on a big company here, but it's a way of, it's a big company doing something specific to local. HubSpot, they have encouraged local groups to start. So they're called Hugs, and basically they're a group of people that are using HubSpot, whether they're users, whether they're company owners or marketers, whoever they are. They have a community of people that are local. There's one in Philadelphia that's run by Bonnie Valentine, who will be joining us on the show at some point in the future. And they encourage you to talk about HubSpot, whether it's challenges, whether it's positive, negative. It's a way for them to reach their audience in a localized community and understand the challenges that they face. It also is a great networking opportunity for someone.
Absolutely.
So if you look for these types of groups, look for these little marketing groups, look for these little events that are coming up in your area, and it doesn't even have to necessarily be related to your business. It just shows that you know your area, you're part of that local community.
Yes. You know what? And something that is kind of near to me, I think that is key, is we talked about, a couple shows back. If you're at a local event, you take 3 pictures, you write 1 paragraph. Hey, here's where I was. This is what happened. It was attended by a bunch of people. Everyone had a good time. Here's 3 pictures.
Exactly. That can go a long way to it. I think authenticity comes out of that, if you think about it, and throw your brand in the middle of it. It shows you as being a people person, a local community driven person, and it gives someone a little insight into who you are and what makes you tick. I can think of this is very interesting, but a specialized veterinary practice out out towards the Valley Forge area called Hope Veterinary Service, or Hope Veterinary Specialists. They have done a fantastic job with their social media over the years, and a lot of it is what they do for the local community. So they have dog days where you can bring them in and have the dogs go through a little bit of basic training, and they just give them a quick health check, check the oil, check the tires, that type of thing. They do fantastic stuff in their social media, and it's for them. There's one person doing it.
Wow.
And she does a great job, and I think that makes a huge difference in building trust with your customers, especially if you are very locally focused. That trust with your local population and your local community leaders and members is huge for your business.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I think that's actually one of the reasons when I had my real estate business, I was able to grow it organically so fast, was I took that angle of basically trying to be, as much as possible, a local media company. My thought always was, one, as we kind of brought up earlier, when I was first getting started, I had time.
Yeah.
A lot of time, and most of my time was spent like, how do I get more business? So what I would constantly do is either write or take pictures. So it was either visual or written, but the key was, one, to be consistent about it. Yep. And 2 was I would go to a lot of local events because I had the time where I was going to go to them anyway. So I'd make sure I took a couple pictures, did a write-up, and then over time, when people would search for these events, they would find my blog. They would find my real estate company. And then I realized a little bit further into it is, well, it's great to do it at the event. But you know what? I should push it on my social media channels, the event, for the event stakeholders. So, if they had a flyer, I would, put their flyer and write a blog up. Hey, be sure not to miss this. Then I would share it on all my social media channels, but I would share it using my website with a link back to theirs.
Yeah, and because you're getting your backlinking, you're getting the SEO ranking, and you're also potentially driving the opportunity for that organization to help sponsor your efforts too. So you can get a couple of lines of interest. You get traffic to your website and your domain. You drive backlinking to theirs, and if you work the business angle well, you can actually start to get paid for doing those types of promotions through your channels. At the end of the day, it helps, and it may not be necessarily financially paid, but you may get free access, or you may get free advertising in their publication. There's ways of working those deals and those angles. Not only that, but you're also, if you are at the event, you're networking well. Make sure all your channels are available on your business card.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
One of the smart things that I think I've seen over the last couple of weeks, slightly off topic but very helpful, business cards with a little RFID or a barcode in it or a scan, that when someone gets your business card, it automatically uploads to their phone, and it uploads all of your contacts. So whether that's your Instagram channel, your Facebook, so it can upload all of that in, and that's by a company. I think you can get them from a number of different places. The one that I saw this on was Moo,
Okay.
Moo specialise in providing corporate stationery, and some unusual ones and some really nice ones. And this was something that just stuck in my head. I was like, that could be great for me and Kevin, basically. But it's a way of like digitizing your experience so that you're sharing your contacts immediately and you're exposing your channels and making people connect with you in many different ways, which ultimately is what blogging is about. It's about connecting with you and you narrating a story that's relevant to them.
It is so true. It is, and that's a really good one. I actually, when you're speaking about HubSpot, it made me think that I recently have been testing it for a business, and I didn't realize that they have the business card uploader as part of the free app, and that's outstanding.
That is awesome.
I mean, it works well. You take a picture, and next thing you know, you have the contact information in your HubSpot, database,
which is great. And from a sales guy's point of view, that's fantastic. I mean, if you get your local ideas, we've talked a lot about going to these events, writing your opinions, what happened, everything else, and that's all good. When you get down to more deeper content, and this is where you start to get more specific around B2B or B2C. If I'm a person who's created a product that I want people to buy, and I'm going to make up something fictional. Let's just say I've created this really nice phone case that does a couple of different things, right? It's a digital phone case. It's automatic. It plugs into your car, and as soon as you plug it in, it charges all your devices, not just yours. Right? I'm making it up. I'm going to patent that later. But if I had something like that, one of the best things I could do is a product demo, which I could blog or video. I can actually show me using it, show how it works. I could do a case study about someone using it and how that's helped them kind of improve their life to some level. I can create little video animatics which show some of the specialized features. Maybe I'm using a nice brushed aluminium that's highly stylish. And yes, I say aluminium, not aluminum. You can play around with these things, and whatever seems like the minor details to you as the inventor of that product they could be a difference maker for someone looking to purchase it.
Absolutely.
I'm always driven back to that. Me and Kevin worked together years ago. It was a machine that fired American footballs. You remember that?
Oh yeah, the football was the
ball cannon.
Ball cannon, yes.
Ball cannon. Some of the best content that you could do with that is actually showing it in action, because it's we all see them on the NFL. They got these big ball cannons, they fire, and they're huge. But the idea of this was something a little bit more portable.
Fire Nerf balls, right?
Exactly,
Nerf
footballs, and you could take it to the park and have fun with it with your family and kids and what have you. And some of the best content you could put together for that kind of product is really videos showing it in use. But it did have a couple of unique design features that, when you actually showed them, they were difference makers for people buying it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The handle to transport it, the weight of it was quite light.
The
fact it was easily recharged and stuff like it was great. So again, when you're thinking about your products, that's really consumer driven. Like, show your products, show people using them. Don't get into this trap of showing an ad and saying, "Hey, great product." Prove it.
Absolutely.
Put your money where your mouth is and show me what's different about your product versus the one that I can get from China for half the price, right?
Yeah, and I mean, for them, they were shooting the videos locally. They were using local high schools or colleges. So then you had to tie into the local area.
Yeah.
Leaves people more apt to do it. And that kind of brings me to another great way if you're a local business. And I know you and I have always talked about our love of eating out. If you're a restaurant out there and you sell breakfast in the Ballackinwood area, we're happy to have you as a sponsor for me, Wayne, and Dan. We all would love to talk up how amazing your breakfast is.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
I do digress there. But that was something else I did is in numerous businesses, I would write reviews on local businesses. Ones I really like.
Yeah. It helps, again, it shows you part of the community. It helps others realize that you are truly local, because, hey, Kevin shops at so-and-so, I shop there, that's great. We've got something minor in common. But it does help. It seems innocuous. You're like, well, why would I write a review of Tony's Pizza? Well, it could make a huge difference to your personal marketing, so it's worth trying.
And if you really like it, part of it is we're all small business owners together, so why not help somebody else out? You know,
exactly. I mean, the small business community in itself is close knit, and we all try to help each other. And I think that's part of the attraction of it.
Absolutely, I completely agree. You know, it's one of the blogs that ended up doing the best on my website for a number of years was a local mechanic that I had written up a blog about, and then I took a section of it, and I just kind of wrote about my experience with, you know, this mechanic and why I recommended using it.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have a website. He was actually somewhat my neighbor down the street. He was like a block away, and I actually never mentioned it. So one of his employees eventually mentioned it. He saw the sign. Here's talk about having content everywhere. I had, you know, door magnets on my car for the real estate business, and one of his guys was like, "Oh wait, you're Red Sky Realty Group," and I said, "Yes." Why? He said, "Oh, we actually got someone in that actually mentioned they saw it on this real estate website,
That's
and
cool.
We've been wondering where we've been getting business from because, you know, we really weren't on the internet." And it always came up because my website had a lot of domain authority. It ranked well for his keywords, which I had put in the thing. And then he was always appreciative, and he was a great guy beyond that. But you know, it just kind of made our relationship even better. There was one time my car broke down and was stuck in the front of my house, and he said, "Hey, just leave the keys, you know, somewhere." Well, I can't remember where it was, but wherever. Leave the keys there. I'll have my guys come down, and they'll push it down to my shop.
Wow.
So he pushes it down in his shop. He gets it worked on, and then like a day later, he was like, "You want me to drive it back down and leave it at your house, or are you gonna come pick it up?" You know, and then
nice. That's service beyond service, right?
Yeah, and I mean that's why he, you know, was a great business owner, but you know he also was very appreciative of
what you did,
the free advertising, you know. And
well, I'd even go a step further, right? So if you think about it, if you're running a real estate business, and if you're not doing this, I highly recommend it. If you are running a real estate business, people come to you to look for houses, yes, and they work with you throughout that whole transition of buying the house, selling theirs, whatever. What else are they looking for? Well, if they're new to the area, they're going to look for vendors that they can trust. They're going to look for people local to them that can help them with certain services, whether that's plumbing, whether that's general handyman work, painters and decorators, builders, car mechanics. If you've got a lot of reviews about people you trust and that you use, your customers are going to use that information in their day-to-day lives to try to help solve some of their challenges, which would always stand you above anyone else. So if you're a real estate agent or any business really, it makes a lot of sense to have that type of content in, because it helps you help your customer, which ultimately creates the ultimate customer experience.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, if you're a real estate agent, insurance broker, interior decorator, you know, a plumber,
shared services. You don't have to. You can always charge people for that if you want. You can monetize it, absolutely. I think as long as you're getting traffic to people, it makes that monetization a lot easier. But it helps you connect people that you meet with others that need that you would use or that you trust that they could then go and use as well. It helps elevate your brand. It helps elevate that person's brands, and if it's reciprocal, then you start creating a whole community of people that can help each other. It's basically Angie's List without Angie.
Yeah, and without paying for it.
Exactly, and it's free for you and free for them.
It's funny you mentioned it about real estate, but being someone who's moved a number of times, one of the things I always laugh, but I never find, which I'm always looking for if I'm renting or buying a house, is pizza places nearby and whether or not they're good. So I have a friend who just bought a house down in Delaware, and he was saying how, oh man, there's no good pizza, this and that. And I recently was down a little bit outside of where he lives, maybe 15 minutes away, and I call him up and I was like, "You're not going to believe this. I just had great pizza in Delaware." And he goes, "What? Where?" And so I tell him, and then as he was moving, this was like right before he moved, so then as he was moving, it kind of came up in conversation with me. I was helping him move and a couple other guys. One of the guys from the area, I said something, and he was like, "Oh, where?" And I said, "Oh, you know, the Newcastle Farmers Market," which you would never think because it's inside a farmer's market. But it's owned by a guy that came over from Italy and the whole nine, and it's outstanding, right? And he goes, been eating that pizza my whole life. To my buddy Rob, he goes, Rob, you gotta try that. And and it was like one of those things. Now, had his real estate agent had that on a website, he's not a huge pizza person, so it wouldn't exactly have translated there. But you know what? For me, I might pick you as a real estate agent because you have all the pizza information that's good, better, and different.
It might be your competitive, a small but competitive edge over everyone else.
Funnily, and I guess coincidentally, it ties into the Barstool thing, right? I mean, pizza reviews go a long way.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny what happens, and you can correlate this information, and it proves out in stories like that. I mean, I'm going to change gears a little bit, and a lot of our listeners probably work for businesses that offer a business
B2B.
B2B. So you're doing business with other businesses, and we don't want to miss you guys out on this, because again, effective blogging for you is really important.
It is,
and I think again, it's one of those situations where just putting case studies up is not going to be enough. It's a good start, but it's not going to be enough. You're going to want to put up more content than that. You're going to want to start thinking about, how can I make some of my content more interactive? Can I do quizzes through social media? Can I do competitions? Can I do giveaways? Can I promote, create and design infographics that I can put out there? You want to do almost like blog roundups where you're collecting information.
Absolutely, yes.
Outside of just your business, but you're looking beyond that, and you're looking at the industry as a whole, and you're starting to promote or cross-promote, write your opinions and blog about those other services or expert roundups, as we call them.
Interviews, or testimonials.
Interviews. If you can, get one of your happy customers to do a video interview for you, or even just, ask them for a written testimonial and post it on your blog. Your press releases, they're blog worthy, and so put those on. There's a lot of, from a B2B point of view, there's a lot of content that you create that can be translated into blog posts very easily.
Oh, it is really true. The thing I would always say is, there's just as many opportunities to blog in the B2B space, though they may be of a different nuance. They might be more professional or something along that lines. There's just as many opportunities in the B2B blogs as there is in local blogs. Absolutely. So you know what? There's nothing that should hold you back from blogging, really.
And I think to kind of round this out, because I know we're coming up to the end of the show, last thing, what is the right number of posts per month regarding blogs?
I don't think there's a single number.
I don't think there is either. I think it's as much as you can manage. And the key is, if you do it on a Wednesday, do it every Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it on a Wednesday and Thursday, do it every Wednesday and Thursday. But there's not really I can't put a hard and fast number to it.
No, there isn't. You know what? It really depends on your resources, what you're looking to do, and kind of where you're looking to take your blog. And I highly recommend you start a blog and get it, kicked up and start accelerating your business for 2020. Well, we're at the end of today's show. Wayne and I, appreciate everyone listening in. One thing is, we're going to continue next week with small business blogs. We're going to really get into imagery and Wayne's edge of how to make great images. So thanks everyone for listening in. This is Kevin O'Brien. I'm with Wayne Middleton. This is the SMB Acceleration Show. See you next Monday. I was like, there's no time on here. Hello, live stream. Thank you for everyone for tuning in. Look forward to seeing you next Monday. Have a great week.
Thanks.